Hi guys, in today's video we're going to be painting an Imperial Fist Dreadnought from start to finish. But first of all I want to say a huge thank you to my YouTube channel sponsors Goblin Gaming. Please check the description box down below, you'll find a direct link to Goblin Gaming's web store and you can go and check them out for yourselves. And if you do actually happen to purchase anything from their web store, please say that OPN sent you. As always guys, this is going to be a long video, so please go grab yourselves a nice hot drink and we'll get started. After cleaning and assembling the model, it's time to prime. Here I'm using Alclad 2's white primer. Now I highly recommend using Alclad primers for resin models as the primer is really tough and it's lacquer based. The only caveat is that unfortunately the fumes from the lacquer based primer are really strong, so you need good ventilation and also need to wear a mask. But as I say, this primer is absolutely fantastic and I highly recommend it. I also have to add that the primer is really thin and goes down super smooth. After finishing the priming, it's time to start laying down our base colour. Here I'm going to be using Games Workshop's Avalon Sunset. As you can see, the Avalon Sunset goes down absolutely beautifully on the miniature. Some yellow colours can really struggle and leave patchy and uneven colours, but not with this Avalon Sunset, so I really recommend this colour when you're actually doing a base coat for yellow. I'm priming at about 20 psi here guys, and I'm just working slowly around the miniature, making sure that all of the areas are covered with the Avalon Sunset. It's time to add the first highlight. Here I'm going to be using Vallejo Game Air Golden Yellow. The aim here is to make sure that the golden yellow goes in all the areas where natural highlights would form and leave the Avalon Sunset behind in where shadows would form. I want to apologise guys if you hear any background snoring. That's my pug Jax. He's having an afternoon nap. Now it's time to add some shadows. I'm going to be using Vallejo Game Air Charred Brown. Adding the charred brown's really going to help the miniature to pop and actually add some really cool colour transitions. So I'm going around the edges of the panels with the charred brown on areas where I think natural weathering would occur, so around the bottoms of the feet, the bottoms of the shin guards, and also in areas where I think it'll look cool really. Here I'm going to be adding Vallejo Game Air Dead White to the miniature, just in areas where I want to add a really cool highlight. So I'm actually adding it to the top surfaces of the miniature and areas where I think a nice bright highlight would look really good. After placing down the dead white, I go back over the dead white areas with Vallejo gold and yellow. You've got two options here, guys. You can actually mask off the yellow areas and airbrush the black, or you can just hand paint it. I found it to be quicker to just hand paint the black areas as opposed to masking and then airbrushing, but the choice is yours. Here I'm going to be using Vallejo Game Air Chainmail Silver. Although this is an airbrush colour, it actually paints absolutely beautifully with a regular brush, as you can see here. It gives almost one coat coverage, guys, which is fantastic for a metallic paint. Here I'm painting the base using Vallejo Game Air Earth, and I'm not worried if I get overspray on the feet, as this will add a cooler weathering effect to the feet. I'm going to be varnishing the miniature. It's important for two reasons: one, to protect the paint job, and two, I'm going to be adding decals, which you can see here. After the gloss varnish has cured and I've added the decals, I'm coming back in now with matte varnish just to get rid of that horrid looking gloss. now it's time to add some very simple yet effective weathering to the miniature. Here I'm using some foam from a blister pack, and you can see that I'm just dipping it into the charred brown colour, and then I'm removing most of the paint from the sponge, or the foam if you like, and then just placing it on the miniature in areas where I think natural corrosion and chipping would occur. Now it's to start adding some washes. I'm using AK Interactive rust streaks here, and this is going to start making the miniature really pop. So in all the nooks and crannies and the crevices and the panel lines of the miniature, I'm adding the rust streaks. Now don't worry too much here if you're not getting exactly the nicest crisp lines, because we can stump these with some white spirit later on. After letting the rust streaks dry, I'm coming back in with some white spirit, and the white spirit's going to be used to just thin out some of those rust streak areas and just to make them look a little neater. Also, if there's any stains been left behind where I've filled in panel lines, it'll be also used to remove the stains. Here I'm applying Norn oil to all the metallics on the miniature. After the Norn oil's dry, I come back in with a 50-50 mix of water and Agrax Earthshade and wash the metallics with that as well, just to add another layer of grubby and weathered look to the metallics. The base is given a wash of Games Workshop's Agrax Earthshade, and I also washed the feet as well with the Agrax, just again to add that extra level of weathering. Here I'm adding Vallejo Game Air Black to the base, being very careful not to get any of the black on the miniature by holding the base at an extreme angle. To really make the metallics pop, it's time to give them a dry brush. Here I'm going to be using Vallejo Game Air Silver, and as you can see I'm using a flat brush here, which helps just pick up the top surfaces of all the detail on the metallics. Here I'm going to be adding some heat effects to the weapons using Tamiya Weathering Master D kit. I highly recommend these kits, guys. They're super simple to use and give great effects. Here I'm starting to add some of the heat effect to the back end of the muzzle breeches. Now I'm going to be adding the blue heat damage further forward on the muzzles. As you can see, guys, it's super simple to do this effect with these kits. The last part of the effect is to add some soot to the very ends of the muzzle. And here we have our finished Imperial Fist Dreadnought, and I really had great fun painting this colour scheme, guys, and I hope you've had fun watching it as well. Also, I want to apologise once again for all the snoring you've heard throughout this video. It couldn't be avoided unless I kicked Jax out of his comfy bed, which I don't think he would have been too happy about. And lastly, I want to say a huge thank you to Goblin Gaming, my YouTube channel sponsors, once again, and also at the same time congratulate them on being voted #1 for customer service by Trustpilot. And if you've got any comments, please leave them in the comments field down below, guys. Don't forget to hit the like button if you've enjoyed this, and I'll catch you in the next video.